Greetings, friends. Brian Frederick-Gray here with Chris Dorsey for the Disciples Advocate Digest. We're glad to be with you.
First, want to point out my little I'm a Disciples Advocate button, which I have now. I didn't have it last week, but I do have one now. Our first story that we were covering is the webinar that's coming up between NBA and Disciples Justice Ministries. They're commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott to discover how courage, connection, and shared resolve can guide us through collective organizings in a time of uncertainty. 70 years ago, the Montgomery bus boycott showed how everyday people united in dignity and determination could stop an unjust system in its tracks and forge powerful bonds of solidarity that carried the movement forward.
And so this is a wonderful opportunity for folks to be able to learn a little bit about the history, celebrating that 70th anniversary, but also some of the ways that we can pull those lessons into this current moment as well.
Right. I think it's also important to think about Montgomery as not just a place of history, but a place of present opportunity.
Yes.
As you know, the Equal Justice Initiative has their Legacy Museum there, which talks about not just the history of lynching in this country, but all kinds of systems of oppression from slavery on forward. And Brian Stevenson, who leads that organization, is someone that you and I both know. We had a chance to see and hear him at the UCC General Synod a few years ago. I also know that he was present at a talk. He gave a talk at TCU and Bright Divinity School, Disciples Institutions recently. My daughter was able to go to that. But Montgomery is a place where not just history is something to learn about, but the work of justice today is also an important part of the landscape of Montgomery. So I think what Disciples Justice Ministries and NBA is doing is making sure that we connect history with our current opportunities.
Amen. Disciples Justice Ministries is going to be commemorating that 70th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycotts all year long. And so, friends, look forward to some future events that'll be coming in this series too. Chris, can we move to the second topic?
Yep.
After weeks of heavy U.S. military buildup alongside ongoing U.S.-Iranian negotiations, the United States and Israel began a new unprovoked attack on Iran on Saturday, February 28th. We have two different resources that we want to be able to share and lift up to the church right now. The first one is to make sure that everybody knows about the Global Ministries statement. This is the common global witness between the United Church of Christ and the disciples of Christ. Both of our churches have consistently supported diplomacy and adherence to international law and conventions, and that we have opposed military intervention and intensified sanctions. The statement also calls on us to be a people of faith that remember, and here I'm going to quote from it, in a time of ongoing war, we affirm our faith in a peace-loving God who neither blesses nor desires war, but calls all nations to beat their swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks.
Disciples Peace Fellowship also published a resource in the form of a rapid response statement. It has a graphic that can be shared across social media and e-newsletters and printed in a bulletin. But what's really interesting to me is they've also included a prayer. I think prayer is an important part of what we all need to do. And the prayer that they've included says this: God of peace, you who break the weapons of war and refuse the logic of domination, grieve with us the violence we justify and the harm we unleash, and turn our hearts again toward your way of healing, restoration, and wholeness. Give us courage to seek peace when it is not easy, to speak when silence feels safer, and to call for ceasefire, for justice, and for lives to be protected so that your peace, not made by force, but by love, might take root among us. Amen. So I
Amen.
think that's a couple of things that we can do, follow the statements, but also be mindful of what we can do as people of faith in this very difficult time.
For our third topic, Chris, let's talk about the Faith in Elections playbook, shall we? And this is a place where I'm going to brag for just a second. I am so very proud of the Reverend Dr. Katie Sexton, who was recently announced as a 2026 The Vote is Sacred Fellow, which means that she is going to be one of the key leaders helping to implement the Faith in Elections playbook that was created by Interfaith America. Civic and faith leaders and organizations have an important role to play in promoting healthy engagement in U.S. elections.
Yeah, Brian, I think it's important for us to remember that we as people of faith and faith leaders especially have an important we have credibility, we have influence. And so we need to use our credibility and our influence to make sure that our infrastructure is healthy and that we have an equitable democratic process. We believe very strongly in voter rights, voter education, and protecting the right to vote. This isn't about machines. This isn't about equipment. This is about human beings being able to exercise their right to vote in fair elections. And I think that's an important part of what we do here at Disciples Advocate.
Amen. And so the Faith in Elections Playbook, friends, is an evolving document. The link that you have there is going to take you to it, but more updates are going to be coming throughout the year, as well as additional opportunities to engage, to learn, and to find what's going to be your part in this work in our local neighborhoods, communities, states, and places that churches really can plug in and make a difference.
So we've
And
got one last story, I believe, Brian.
this week in Kansas, hundreds of folks have gotten official letters saying that their driver's license is no longer valid. Transgender Kansans who have changed their gender designation in the past received that letter. It's a new state law that just took effect there. Other states either have a similar law or are considering similar laws. But what was so just hard about this one is that there was literally no time given to adjust. So the legislation doesn't provide any funding. People had to go and get new driver's license. We should say lawsuits are ongoing and happening right now. But this is just such a heartbreaking thing that has happened to our trans siblings there in Kansas.
It really is disheartening, Brian. I think one of the things that we need to be mindful of is the fact that this is a situation where state and governmental entities are denying the human dignity of siblings and people that we care very deeply for. We need to recognize that this is an assault on the basic human dignity of people by denying them the ability to designate and to identify themselves in the way that they feel quite strongly that God has called them to be.
That's right.
We are denying who they are.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the resources? It almost seems like we need to go back to some of the fundamentals about what does it mean to affirm and to protect and recognize the dignity of all people. Are there
I think
resources that our churches can lean into?
I think that's absolutely right. And being able to lean into those fundamentals right now. First thing I want to lift up is that our partners at the Disciples LGBTQ Plus Alliance, you might know them as Alliance Q, released a new invitation on social media called We Say All Are Welcome. But what does that really mean? Enlisted on there, if you are an already open and affirming congregation, they give you a place to dive deeper. If you are considering entering into that process, there's a guided question to help you get started, as well as the links that you need to be able to reach out and connect with Alliance Q. We're grateful for the work that they're doing with congregations. And the second one that I want to lift up is this excellent upcoming training that our dear friend, the Reverend Dr. Luther Young, is leading with the Reconciliation Ministry Network. It's called Queer Theology for Laity. It's a 6-session online course. There is limited space available and a registration fee. But if you're looking to discern practical applications for inclusive, justice-minded faith practices around LGBTQIA plus issues, this is the place for you.
We'll be back again next week with more. Again, stay active, stay aware, stay connected. This is what it means to be a disciples advocate, and we're grateful for you all signing in. Tell us what you think about the stories in the link, share resources that you know about as well, and make sure that you stay tuned.
Amen. Blessings and peace, friends. Thank you.